Before we get into our reading for tonight, a reading from the book of Acts, on this Mother's Day weekend, I feel like I need to admit something to all of you and to my wife who's somewhere in the back. I would be lost without my wife. Raise your hand, men, if you agree with this statement. This is the time to raise your hand, right? And this was confirmed for me this last week. I had the privilege of traveling with my wife this past week, and at the airport in Minneapolis, before we'd even left the great state of Minnesota, we entered the airport, we went through security, and we found, what did I say? I just started. I love it. Love kids in church. We were at the airport, and before we even got near the airplane, we found a little place to eat, and after eating, I got up, I turned, I started walking away. I was halfway down the concourse, only to look back and see my wife with my luggage saying, "Don't you think you might want to bring this with?" Right? And then while we were away, the last night we were away, we went out to eat, and the next morning I woke up and I realized my credit card was gone. Anybody had that happen while you're traveling? That is not fun. My heart was beating. I was looking frantically in my pockets, in my suitcase. I was looking everywhere. And my wife comes out of the bathroom. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I lost my credit card." And get this, it wasn't even 4 seconds. And she said, "Oh, you left it at the restaurant. Call him." I was like, "No way." She said, "Call him." Called him. Sure enough, I'd left it at the restaurant. I would be lost without her. Last part of the story goes like this. We're in the airport in Miami, right? We're on our way back. Again, I stop at a little shop in the airport, and I walk away, and again, my wife, I turn back, and she's got this look like this. You are helpless, right? I left my suitcase again, huh? Good Lord. I would be lost without my wife, and I'm guessing maybe some of you men aren't as clueless as I am, but you too would be lost without the women in your lives. This is a time to say, yes, man. Yes, right? Yes. Well, I've been really lucky to have some pretty amazing women in my life. Women who just wanted something better for me and for my life. I think about my dad's mother, my grandmother. Get this, when my dad was young, she dreamed of my dad being a musician, a classical piano aficionado. She dreamed of him being famous on the piano. She just wanted something better for him. And so she would do this. She would have my dad, as a young little boy, sit across the room from the piano, and she would sit at the piano and plunk out notes. And she would ask him to name the note, She just wanted something better. My other grandma was the epitome of grace. When I was going to graduate school, I was eating ramen noodles, and I was poorer than poor. And she sent me a check, a big old check. And she wrote just this simple note that said, "Grandma decided to spend your inheritance early." How about that? Man, she just wanted something better for me. And I had an incredible mother. I remember especially one day, a snowy day in plains of North Dakota where we lived. There was this big old snowdrift, and I spent the day digging out this awesome fort that only a third grader could get into. And I was digging into this fort, and I remember sort of a knock on the snow door from my mom, and there she had a basket of fresh-baked chocolate chip cookies and a thermos of hot chocolate. And she sort of did the army crawl into the snow fort. And of course, there's my wife, Katie. She would do anything for me and for my boys. She would do absolutely anything because she just wants something a little better for us than maybe what she experienced. Well, here's something I know about my wife. She just wants something better for her kids and the people around her. She wants to make their lives better. And not only would I be lost without her, her and all the women who have been in my life and played these important roles, but I know that I've been blessed with women in my life, who just again and again, they want something better. And so today on Mother's Day, we're going to do something, okay? We're going to give thanks for the women in our lives, for these mothers. And so, again, I'm going to have you turn to the women around you. Just say, thank you for being you. All the women, thank you for being you. Thank you for being you. There you go. See, it feels kind of funky because we don't do this, right? We got to do this more often. Thank you for being you. Well, today I want to tell you about another group of women. And they're women for whom a whole community would be lost. It's a group of women who, like the women in our own lives, they just also want something better for their kids and for those around them. You see, these women are from a place I talked about during the announcements. It's a place called Bihar, India. And I know we hear about all kinds of places like this. We get stuff in the mail, but this is a unique place. And your church has chosen to invest in this place, and specifically in a group of women. Let me tell you what their lives are like. You see, they wake early each morning, way before their kids do, to cook rice or a thing called maize over a fire in a little 12 by 12 hut that they call their home. And each day they add just a little bit more, a little extra water to that maize and rice to stretch it as far as it will go, to try and give their kids just a little bit more, because in this community, like I said, 1 out of every 2 kids is malnourished. There's just not enough to go around. And these moms, they're home alone, as I said, with their children, because for most of the year, their husbands have to travel away to the city to find work. And so after breakfast, these moms, they make their way out to the edge of their village where they might have a quarter or a half-acre plot of land that they rent from some landowner at exorbitant prices. But these are the plots on which they grow all the food that they feed their family with. And so she brings her kids out to the field with her because they're what are called Dalits. Their family are of this lowest social class in India. They're outcasts who are sort of discriminated against, discrimination that limits them, their access to health care, to education, to access to land. And because they are Dalits, there are no public schools for them in Bihar. And so these moms sort of serve as surrogate teachers, mothers who have no formal education for themselves. Most of them, as I said, they can't even write their own names. And with these kids in tow, these moms, they teach their kids how to plant things like corn and rice in soil that's rocky, it's terrible, it's dry. And on these little plots, they're able to produce enough food for about 4 to 6 months of food for their family. They do the best they can. Folks, without these women, these whole communities would be lost. They run this rat race of life because they simply want to give the next generation just a little bit better chance at life. Well, we're going to read something from the book of Acts. The first church was growing, it was growing, it was growing. It grew way beyond the bounds of the early Jewish community, and the word spread among those whose lives bore absolutely no resemblance to that first Jewish community that was the original church. It grew to include people known as Gentiles. These are the non-Jews, those who didn't follow the rules or the customs of the Jewish people. They didn't follow rules about what to eat or how to wash or how to worship, or maybe who they should marry or who they should associate. These Gentiles were outsiders whose lives looked nothing like those original Jewish insider folk. And as you can imagine, as these Gentiles came to know the story of Jesus, they wanted in. But there was a problem. The insiders put up a stink. They said, wait a second, if they get in, what? If they're going to be one of us, they need to follow our rules. They need to fall in line. They need to look a whole lot more like us. Why should we make exceptions for them? Why should we include those foreigners to the faith? And as you can imagine, this created a significant kerfuffle for the original church. You say kerfuffle, right? Isn't that just fun to say? Huh? And so they did what any church experiencing a kerfuffle would do. The church in Jerusalem called a congregational meeting, right? So they can settle everything. And after all kinds of debates, hours and hours of painful debate, I imagine if there were hundreds of gallons of coffee consumed. And we hear today that Peter, at the end of this big, long debate, as the head of the church, he had something to say about these outsiders. And we're going to read about it today. It says, the apostles and the elders met together to consider this matter. After there had been much debate, Peter stood up and he said to them, brothers, you know that in the early days God made a choice among you that I should be the one through whom the Gentiles would hear the message of the good news and become believers. And God, who knows the human heart, testified to them by giving them the Holy Spirit just as He did us. And in cleansing their hearts by faith, He made... Say that one more time. He made no distinctions between them and us. Now, therefore, why are you putting God to the test by placing on the neck of the disciples a yoke that neither our ancestors nor we have been able to bear? On the contrary, we believe that we will be saved through the grace of the Lord Jesus, just as they will. Huh? Interesting. Peter, in essence, says, though the details of our stories are different, us and those Gentiles, our stories are the same. We're all in need of God's grace. He says there are no what? Distinctions. There are no distinctions, he says. Yes, our lives look radically different than theirs. But to this God of ours, there are no distinctions. And there never will be. Folks, as I think about our friends in Bihar, India, isn't this sort of the same? Sometimes we say, why would we spend our time and our energy and our money on people so far away and so removed from us? We have plenty of problems right here at home, and yes, to some extent that's true. But we care about these women in this far-off place, these moms. We care about all moms, really, wherever they might be, because we are followers of a God with whom there are no distinctions. Just like the women in our lives, without these women in these communities so far away, their families would be lost. We might remember Peter's words. There are no distinctions. Get this, in several studies done by international NGOs, non-governmental organizations, they've come to find, in study after study, that when you go into an impoverished community, wherever it might be in the world, and you give the same resources to women that previously they might have given to men. Does that make sense? So you give them the resources to women that they maybe had previously given to the men of the community. Get this, the women will produce 70% more than the men would. All the women in the room are going, yeah, you finally figured that out? Right? Huh? Maybe we could learn something in this country from that, huh? We care about these women across the globe because these women simply want the next generation to be a little better off, just like us. Make no distinctions, Peter says. Our story is their story, and their story is our story. We just want something a little better for our kids and for our grandkids. And that's why, moms, you run the rat race of life. It's why you sit at never-ending dance recitals and you pretend to love things like hockey. It's why you sweat it out in the bleachers on baseball diamonds and freeze during late fall football games. It's why you help your kids raise money to go on trips and teach Sunday school, and you bring your kids to church on Sunday mornings when you'd rather be in bed. It's why the women in Bihar run the rat race as a single parent. They trek to the field each morning. They put up with their husbands being gone most of the year because they simply want something better for the next generation. Peter says, make no distinctions. Well, folks, here at Calvary, we're part of this incredible partnership in this place called Bihar, India. And again, we're one of only 9 congregations in the country that were asked by Lutheran World Relief to be a part of this partnership in Bihar. And so what we're going to do is we've got a little video. It's sort of an update, if you will, on what's going on in India. We've talked about this place over the course of the year, and we've got a little video that's a bit of an update on what the project is. All right, I'm going to try and start it here. If we could shut the lights off.
Women are really one of the major workforce in agriculture worldwide, but somehow they are marginalized because we know that women are really one of the major workforce in agriculture worldwide, but somehow they are marginalized because the land rights are with men. In a sense, they have less access to resources, they have less access to inputs, less access to land. It makes a lot of sense for women to be recognized and considered as change agents in this agriculture project. In Bihar, farming means everything. 3 out of 4 people in this state are dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. Bihar really is languishing behind in terms of health, education, and sanitation. Bihar is one of the very poorest states in India. A lot of these families are under debt. They usually borrow money from money lenders at high rates of interest. So Lutheran World Relief chose to work in the rural women-led agriculture project. We are working with smallholder farmers. They have very small patches of land, so it makes a lot of sense for us to improve their production so that they are able to attain food security and also earn cash.
It was dry, it was stony. There are a lot of challenges in terms of the land productivity. If we need to start some kind of the program for vegetable cultivation, we need to first prepare this land. Women are developing these trenches to make it suitable for the vegetable cultivation, and with that their water retention capacity is increased and the soil nutrient capacity is increased for the production. There are a couple of traditional seeds which gives you a minimal amount of production.
हाइब्रिड जैसे एक प्रमाणित अभी बाजार में हाइब्रिड बीज मिले थे दीदी ओकरो से भी ज़्यादा उपज होवे छे एकरा में ये बीज शोधन कर में इतना जो बीज कर लिए शोधन कर लिए.
We are giving the training to the farmers to know what kind of the treatment is required to protect the seeds from the pests, the fungus, so that when they will grow there will be 100% germination.
यदि कहबे हिसाब काम करें तो आपने कहते इतने मेहनत करबे चल बड़ा धान निकाल और चल छिटी दे.
The reason why we are doing this polyhouse is to protect the early seedlings from the high temperature, the excessive rain. If the seedlings are healthy, definitely your crop will be very, very healthy.
केतला खाद छले पर साल थोड़े साथ तभी मिला के दिलल तो मिला के छोड़ी दे छे तकरा बाद लकड़ी ले खींची एक एक करके बिया डाले ओकरा एक दिन डाले तकरा दूसरी दिन पानी दे जैसा कि गाछ उछ जन्म होय छे तो घास उस जता होय छे सब ओकरा चुनेल लगे.
From the project we supported the pumps which provides the irrigation from the wells to the different plots of the beneficiaries. We have also introduced a couple of other improved tools like power tiller, seed dibbler.
ऐसे एगो रखे फटाक से इससे दाब दिए वहाँ एक में ही इसमें खाद गिर गया इसमें मक्का गिर गया.
These agriculture tools are under the custody of self-help groups. The self-help groups are small groups of the women that start small savings. Now from those savings they are getting credit.
10 टका करे बचत कर लिए ओकरो बाद फिर बचत करते करते 6 महीना होले 6 महीना के बाद खाता खोलवा लिए राधानगर बैंक में ककरो ला बोले नहीं छलिए जखनी कि अहाँ इस निम नहीं जुड़ल छलिए भैया डर लागे छले बोले हम 10 गो जहाँ जमा नहीं होल छलिए भैया तो दीदियों से नहीं 10 गो रहे छले तो वहाँ उतना नहीं बोले छलिए दादो सब 10 गो रहे छले तो नहीं बोले पारे छलिए आ एकराम जब जुड़लिए और एकराम जब जाए लागलिए ना
मंझला तैयार हो गेलै जब पढ़े उड़े नहीं जाने छलै यार कुछ बैठल नहीं जाने छलै लोग के डर भी लागे छलै लोग के देखी के मंझला के को तरह से आगू बढ़े चाहे छै डब्ल्यू आर आर को बढ़े नहीं दिए छै
So women are not only empowered, but families are also changing economically. With that, they're able to send children to school, they're able to meet health emergencies.
जब करे लालिए हमें अपने से सब्जी करवावे लालिए जब करे लालिए ना तब अब विश्वास है जब पिछले साल जब कर के सब्जी न करियो ना ये गाछ 2 गाछ मरचा तोड़ लिए तो 2 किलो एक बार गेले तो 6 महीना मरचा तोड़ लिए भैया तो 6 महीना मरचा टूटले तो कितना है 10 किलो बेसी गाछ मरचा टूटले
अभी साल लागी गेलै भैया तो अगला साल हम लगाल छलिए तो ओकरा से ले गेलै हमे 32,000 कमा लिए भैया तो हमरा भावना लागे छै कि आरो लगावे बढ़े तो आरो पूरा कमावे पड़े
So these programs are really programs that we want to scale up to reach more and more number of smallholder farmers. We've seen such tremendous impact. These farmers are able to hope a better future for their children, which is incredible because they've never done this before.
Did you notice I don't know if you could read from where you were at, but at the beginning they were teaching the women a little seed technique, and it said, your husbands will want to skip